Hello, everybody. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting. And for those of you who are back, welcome. Always nice to see a friend. For my haters, all like one or two of them, hi, I love you too. And to people wandering in, finding me for the first time, my name is Laura. I live in upstate New York, and I talk about things that I find interesting, which trends towards art, history, archaeology, conspiracies. Like you should say, kind of everyday weirdness. I'm a big fan of everyday weirdness. So we are going to get started, and I don't remember what I did. Let's see. What do we got going on? Oh, yes. So if you were to say to me, if you were to all be in front of me right now and to say, hey, Laura, how was your week? That is how my week was. So you know the picture of the guy who's like pointing and it's like a famous meme? That's the same artist. His name is Joseph. Oh, frick. Oh, Joseph Dufresne. Let's see how smart I am. You're really going to do this to me? Okay, so I will look it up later because I can't be bothered right now. But I'm really irritated. No, I can't. I can be bothered. I can be bothered. I need to be bothered. I need to know. I need to know. But you know what? I have to leave Google in order to find it. I hope everybody had a better week than me. That's all I gotta say. Because it was really sucky. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay, here we go. Bam! All that. So this is Joseph de Creux. I was like not even close. Okay, well, I tried. I knew it was Joseph. I had that part right. So, mood for the week. Totally random picture. This is the old Roman watch station, and the old Roman watch station is basically like a Roman firehouse. So this is like where the guys hung out, and if there was a fire, they would go and fight it. Seems really fancy, right? I'm thinking about the firehouses in my neighborhood and if they are this fancy, and I'm going to say no. What about yours? Do you have fancy firehouses in your city? Maybe one or two, right? Usually there's like one or two that are like exceptional. Because I live in New York, so firefighting is kind of like a big thing here. I don't know. I mean, as far as like big thing, as far as like the culture, you know, there's, I don't know how to explain it, but there's like a fireman's club everywhere, and they get paid really well, unlike the teachers. We're not going to talk about that. Moving on. This is the Zandvoort, as I make a mess of this whole thing, the Zandvoort Water Tower. And I didn't even think that this picture was real at first, because it looks kind of fake, right? Kind of fakey. And I'm like, what the frick is that? What is that? Old water tower destroyed. Okay. On 17 September 1943, the Zandvoort Water Tower was blown up by the occupying German army by means of 12 explosive charges. So they blew it the heck up. And I guess this is what the new one looks like. I don't even know what a water tower does. Do we know what a water tower does? I feel like we've had this conversation before. What does a water tower do? In order to regulate, maintain pressure and water levels throughout a system, water towers are used to store treated water and manage flow. They provide backup capacity. See now, the AI Google, like when you get an AI answer, it's like way better than the other answer, but it's not consistent. I'm seeing a slight improvement in finding stuff, but just a common gripe I have. Okay, so we know what a water tower is. We are educated on water towers. Someone knocked on your door right now. Hello? What's a water tower? You'd be able to answer. This is the British Water Tower Appreciation Society. And these gentlemen, and probably gentlewomen, posted from 2008 to 2019. So if we go to the main page, it's just water towers. Look at this wonderful man. Looks like he wrote a book about water towers. Probably in Europe. I've seen like PDFs on water towers in America, and there were some cool ones, but they had like a totally different vibe than the ones in Europe. Like the ones in Europe were like, whereas the ones in America look like fat aliens on skinny legs, kind of, maybe some wrought iron Art Deco-y things going on in there. I could be wrong about that. Maybe you have some cool water towers in your neighborhood too. We just have big bulby ones around here. Look at this thing. This is Delft in the Netherlands, known for its pottery, the Delft pottery. You might have a grandma or mom or someone who collects it. Why is it famous? I don't remember, other than I know it was expensive and very well made. And you can still find it, like the really, really old stuff. Like they're still finding it. Like I think someone was found like a couple weeks ago in like a shipwreck. They found some pottery, and I think it was Delft pottery. So, British appreciation water tower thingy. It'll be in the links. You can poke around and see what kind of things that they were posting. Now we're going to go to Sotheby's because I feel like going shopping. I have an imaginary large amount of money, and I think I want to buy something. I'm not sure what I want to buy, but you know what? Is this the Asian part? What is this? Why is it in Chinese? Is that Chinese? I think it is, but I'm not sure. Let's go to Sotheby's. And, okay, this looks like this is the American one. Okay, here we go. Auctions. Upcoming auctions. Let's see what we got. Contemporary discoveries. That sounds good. Let's check that out. Contemporary discoveries. We've got... Oh, they're sneaky. They do that so you can't make them big. I don't want it 150%. Okay, I totally messed this all up, as usual. Maybe I can do this. All right. We're just going to look a little bit, and if I see something, I'm going to click on it. Like, let's check this thing out. Emily Ludwig Schaefer. Carry grasshopper. Cricket. Denied. Wow, my brain is dead today, right? Carated. It is a stone carving of a draped female figure used as a pillar to support the entablature of a Greek or Greek-style building. So in the Greek buildings, when you see like the women and they're sort of like holding up the roof, like let's pull one of these guys up, you could see the original roof raisers, if you will, And I messed this up, but we're going to keep it moving. I'm done. Forget it. I still ended up, I was on the wrong site. This is a picture that blows me away. This is from a Magic the Gathering card. And it is by Jason Rainville. And he is a famous contemporary artist. He does, I believe he does old fashioned just drawing and stuff and oil painting. I'm sure he's progressed to doing digital because, who wouldn't at this point? I'm just checking my messages to make sure there's no craziness going on. No craziness there. Let's go somewhere else and make sure I have no craziness going on. It's nuts. Remember back in the day you had a phone and it was on the wall. And if somebody couldn't get a hold of you, someone who couldn't get a hold of you, sometimes wouldn't even know that they called you. Oh. It's my guy sending me a message, probably while he was in the same room. He does that. So, awesome painting, right? Now, these are artists that create art in unusual mediums. They look at this. We have pencils carved. It's a daily occurrence around here. This is all day, every day, unfortunately. So I keep saying I need to move out of this city. And yeah, I need to move out of the city. Yesterday, a whole ass factory almost burned down. This person is painting with coffee. This person uses old cassette tapes and pulls them apart and then puts them together to create. This person creates things out of books. So they'll put a bunch of books, they'll glue them together, and then carve them like you would a carving. These are naked people. Naked painted people, I should say. Naked painted people. So these are carpets. And it looks like it's a painting, but it's not. These are all textiles. So what he does is he starts out normal in the traditional way, and then he sort of goes non-traditional with his carpets. So I'm thinking there's probably a statement there about perhaps where he's from in the Middle East. I'm thinking there's a lot of different areas where we could think about what he might mean in relation to these carpets and his heritage, perhaps the land he came from, peace, people's rights in some places, not all places. This is perhaps my favorite because it looks kind of neat, right? I don't know. It looks like it's kind of three-dimensional. I feel like I'm going to have to look that up and look at it more closely. This person makes sculptures out of pencils, which are kind of creepy, right? These are trash collages. More naked bodies. It's very popular, right? This is paintings on dirty cars, with their finger. They paint a picture. Creating art out of scaffolding. That's clearly someone golfing, which I'll be doing in 2 weeks. So pray for me, everybody, and the people I'm golfing with. This is a ballpoint pen portrait. So this is made with a ballpoint pen, if you can believe it. Rubik's Cubes. Miniature scenes. And almost at the end, banana snake does whatever a banana snake does. I don't know if I told this story, and I'm going to tell it quick while I scroll through here. There was a guy in the barracks when I was in the Marine Corps who had a big white, let me get this straight. It was an albino boa constrictor, but he had orange circles that were filled with yellow. and he was massive. And this guy in the Marine Corps thought he could keep it in his wall locker. Now, a wall locker is about the size, maybe half the size of a regular closet, like a family closet, except maybe a little higher because there's like an upper part where you store, like your field gear and stuff. But anyway, every Friday in the Marine Corps, without fail, since the beginning of the Marine Corps, it's inspection day. And during inspection day, this Marine stuck the boa constrictor in his wall locker. And I guess the boa was in there knocking stuff around, because it's kind of big. It's knocking over the hangers and, the bottles of cologne that this guy undoubtedly had because he thought he was such a chick magnet. And they made him open up his wall locker. And the gunny jumped back and was like, "What the fuck is that, Corporal?" He got in big trouble. He didn't get NJP for it, though. NJP is non-judicial punishment. That's like when you do something that's like not big enough to be kicked out, but big enough where you should probably be punished for it. I don't remember him getting NJP for that. But he was very charming, so he probably talked his way out of it. So anyhow, this is a whole mood. This is a whole 70s aquatic Blue Lagoon kind of island vibe thing going on. But the reason why I'm stopping here is because of this picture. So this is where I went, what the hell is that? What is that, guys? Do we know? I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where it was. I had never seen it before. No surprise there. The world is huge. I'm sure I've seen not even a percentage of a is very, very very, very tiny. Very tiny. Oh. This actually was supposed to be before that. But I'll get to that. I'm coming back to that picture. So, suspense, foreshadowing, guys. This is very exciting. I saw this, and this is a $150 kids toy. And I think I'm just jealous. I think I want this. How fun is that? Anybody have anything like this when they were a kid? I would get my toys from yard sales, and back then you'd get like the huge toys and like the big boxes, like the G.I. Joe sets and the Star Wars things and the model kits, and people would just throw all their crap into like one box. So you'd end up with a box of like dinosaur people and like Weeble Wobbles, and you'd have a whole melange of things. And if you had enough of those boxes, you could maybe put sort of a set of something together. But anyway, I love my mix-up boxes, but I definitely would have loved that because I loved I still love shiny things, which brings me to my next thing before we go back and talk about that groove thing. I'm going to talk about the fascinating world of antique glass jewelry. So you think of expensive jewelry, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, but there are a lot of pieces out there that are just incredible bits of workmanship, and they're glass. They're just glass, not a gem to be found, but they're sparkly and they're just on par, in my opinion, with like normal jewelry, like gold or whatever. So this was some of the earliest glass that existed, and one of the first things that was done with it is there were buttons kind of made out of it. So you had your fancy buttons, and then we kind of go into, I think this is called paste. But what it is it's a gem, and it has a reflective backing, and so it looks extra shiny. Well, not a gem, but a piece of glass cut like a gem. Like this looks like it might be. And I might have that wrong. It might not be called paste. I'll look that up in a minute. Actually, no, I'll look that up now because I'll forget. What does the word paste mean with regards to jewelry? Jesus, it's loud for a Sunday, right? Paste refers to glass that has been hand cut to approximate the shape and coloring of diamonds and then polished to shine like a gemstone. Ugh. Yeah. I amaze myself sometimes. Most of the time I'm like, wow, that was really dumb, Laura. Paste, there you go. Next, we're going to talk about Murano glass. And Murano glass is, oh, did you see that? My computer acted like it was going to freeze up and do the blue screen of death. That would have been terrible. Murano glass is it's made in Italy. It's very fancy. It's very delicate. It takes a long time to make. I used to have a little tiny Murano glass thing, and somewhere along the way in my life, I lost it. I'm very sad about that. It was like just this bottom part, kind of. But Murano glass is also, you can find it in jewelry, not just decorative items. There's beads that are made out of them. And I actually have some of my own collection right here that I'm going to show you of glass. My glass. Yeah, not a whole lot, just a couple. This is a Murano Millefiori bowl. Millefiori is when they take a bunch of glass canes and they squish them together, and it can create, a kind of like this overall design. Here we have some beads. We have a purse, a vase. These are 17th to 18th century trade beads, so glass was considered a huge commodity when it first started being more commonly made in like the 17th and 18th centuries. And you could literally use glass as money because people wanted it, because it was prized. And it could be sold for a great deal of money. Glass started to kind of sneak in as it became more widely produced into things like a Bristol Blue gin bottle. Wow, that's a pretty gin bottle. 1790 to 1800s. I didn't realize it was that old when I first pulled up this article. French jet, that's a black stone. I have some jet, but I didn't grab it. Camphor glass is a type of glass. It was sort of misty looking. Opaline glass that looks like opals. I have some opaline glass. And uranium glass. Uranium glass is that glass that looks sort of normal, right? But when you put it under a black light, it glows. Like, let's look at this picture right here. It's incredible, right? It's beautiful. I have a friend, shout out to Tom, who has a display that is actually better than this one. He's a neat guy. He could probably do this show way better than me. So I'm going to make myself big for a second before we go on to the next part, but let me bring up the next part. And we're just going to do a little show and tell. Now, funny story, I sort of had a weird upbringing, and when I was 5 years old, I brought in my daiquiri kit for show and tell. And you say, daiquiri kit, doesn't that involve alcohol? And the answer is yes, it does involve alcohol. I was allowed and encouraged to drink alcohol at a very early age. And so I thought it was totally normal to have a daiquiri kit, and I brought it in proudly into Mrs. Van Vlak's class. I can't believe I still remember her name. And phone calls were made. Stuff was said. I got in trouble. No more daiquiri. I was sad about that. It was weird, right? Okay, so here we have, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God. Oh geez, I didn't think this out very well, did I, guys? This is a brooch. Oh, I'll put it like right here. There you go. It's a brooch. And this actually doesn't do it justice, the light. You need to have like the lighting right on it, but it's a beautiful purple. And the back, you can see every single one of these little guys is like hand placed, and this whole thing is like kind of like welded together. So like a lot of time was spent on that. This is a modern glass thing. It's just blown glass with dried flowers inside, so you could still get glass art. These are vintage glass earrings that would have been worn by see, they're a pretty green color. That would have been worn by just kind of like your everyday person. They're not super fancy, but they're a very pretty color. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is Milfori glass from Italy. So we were talking about Milfori. We're talking about Murano glass. This is Milfori. This is Murano. It's just like a little bead. It's very small. These are Swarovski crystals. Swarovski crystals, I think, could be categorized as modern sort of glass jewelry, because they're like, each one of these little beads is like almost $1. You know, unless you buy them like, so you have like a deal like with somebody. I mean, they're not cheap. And then the pièce de résistance, my opaline necklace with, this is the cutest part, with a little seahorse. It just totally escaped my brain. And this is probably not opaline glass. This is, well, maybe it is opaline glass, but anyhow, I made that. So every once in a while I go on a jewelry making kick and I make like 10 things, and then I don't do anything for like a year or two. Oh no, wait, actually this is my most favorite thing. This thing. It's a cocktail ring, probably from the 1920s, 1930s. And it is just not being represented here very well at all. But it's 8 karat gold, which is something that you don't really see anymore. And it has the paste stones. So, all right, moving on. That was a terrible show and tell. I'm pretty sure I get a C. I'll let myself pass. But so here we have the grooves, right? And Samepata, it's in Bolivia. It's in the jungles of Bolivia, and it's not super duper easily accessible. Like, it's not like blam, like right there. It's sort of out of the way. Let's look at some pictures of it, shall we? Here we have some pictures. The bazaar. It is kind of bizarre. Look at that. There are lots of YouTube channels with drones flying through here. This is what it would have looked like. This picture that I can't enlarge because heck you, right? Oh my God. Okay, it's very big. We've established that. Here's an article on it. It is called The Fort. In Quechua, it means place of rest between the mountains. There's a ceremonial center, and then there's administrative areas. It is 220 meters long by 60 meters wide. There are images, carved images of snakes, pumas, jaguars. There are also shapes, niches, canals, water tanks, full of magical and religious meanings. And then we go into the conspiracy part. But before we go into the conspiracy part, I'm going to backtrack here, and let's just talk about facts before we go crazy with ourselves talking about this place. So here we have an actual picture. So the thing that is true and that is fact is that Bolivia and Peru are rich in archaeological sites that are some of the best in the entire world. Like, if you had to list, like I don't know why some of these places aren't listed as like 8th or 9th wonders or whatever, because they're just insane. So it was inhabited by a series of people. It was built by the Chonse. I think they're called the Chonse people. Yeah, this person doesn't go very deep. This is very basic information. But there was another tribe, and then along came the Incas. And by that time, the other tribe was long gone. And the Incas were like, hey, this is a cool place. And so then they took it over, and they began using it. And that's when they called it the fort. And they're saying, who sculpted it? What tools? So someone said the French nationalist in 1832, Alcides d'Orbigny, proclaimed that the pools and parallel canals had been used for washing gold. So they would wash the gold somehow. But a German anthropologist thought it was an ancient temple that worshipped the serpent and the jaguar, and the channels had something to do with that. Recently, it has been suggested that they are ramps for an ancient spacecraft. Regardless of the conspiracy part, it definitely had religious significance. There's no doubt about that. There were seats, tables, a conference circle, troughs, tanks, conduits. What else can I tell you about this? But here is the picture of the whole shebang. Ooh, look at that. So very large and very complicated. The archaeologists who came upon this the first time must have just been like, what? I would have fallen to my knees and just stared. Been like, whoa, my God. So let's go back, shall we, to Conspiracy Land. So Eric von Daniken suggested that this was a ramp for extraterrestrial ships. The main components have names like the choir of priests, the back of the snake, the representation of felines. So they have all these cool names, but it's in Spanish. It's not, But the thing is that is Bolivia, is this place, is it Atlantis? Maybe it was. So there is a theory that Atlantis was in Bolivia. And there is a gentleman who has devoted his life's work to proving this. Here we have the concentric circles. You know how Atlantis has the circles, the sea. There's no doubt that some crazy stuff has happened over time in this area, but you could say that about anywhere on the earth. I mean, I'm sure there must be somewhere where there really has never been any kind of activity, but things move around. So back then, this place probably looked like way different. It definitely didn't look the same. Here's a picture of what it looked like, though. Look, there's Atlantis. And then it shows where it is near Lake Titicaca. Okay, so it's Atlantis. Well, that's interesting. What else are people saying about this place? So let's go back to the UFO site. The authorities all over the world are in constant denial mode when confronted with anything connected with UFO. This person's a little mad, huh? So this person goes into the Nazca lines, the crop circles, the Bolivia thing, the thing in India. Yeah, so this is like, starts to go a little super far out there. But interestingly, it was the Chane people, not the Chauncey people. And they migrated from Guyana approximately 2,500 years ago. Interesting, right? Let's see what Graham Hancock has to say about it, right? He always has conspiracy. So he says that he thinks that this is related to the sculpture, the thing that's underwater near Japan. Near Japan, there are a series of rocks underwater arranged in such a way that they could possibly be something like this. And so Graham Hancock is saying that we need to take a look at both of those. We need to zoom out and look at them not from an individual cultural perspective, but from the perspective that maybe very long time ago in Earth's history, everything was way more connected, or at least way more connected than we give it credit for, and that these two sites are somehow related. This is Isekai Point. You can see not totally dissimilar. So that's the part that makes me go, Before we finish and start to just get out of here with some music and some pictures, there was a conspiracy back in 2019 that Elon Musk caused and helped the military coup of Bolivia in order to further his own interests in lithium and lithium production for his cars. But the reality is that Bolivia doesn't really have a lot of lithium. It has a lot of wonderful and beautiful natural resources, but not lithium. So this article kind of goes into the politics of Bolivia. I found it very interesting, and it talks a little bit about Elon Musk and how things can collide and interact with each other in such bizarre ways, and how like actual like business stuff that's happening ripples down and then directly affects and screws over the people, because the people always get screwed over, right? I mean, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but it's true. These are pictures from a Dutch archive, and I'm going to scroll through them very quickly and leave you to look at them at your leisure. There was just one picture that I wanted to show you. That's a place in the Middle East. These are women practicing shooting, and they are prisoners in a jail. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that if someone's in a jail, maybe you don't want to give them a gun. Oh, this is in New York's East River, too. Now Roosevelt Island. I've been on Roosevelt Island. It's a strange place. So, the picture I wanted to show you is just lots of really kind of weird, off-the-wall stuff here for you to kind of bug out about. But there was one thing that really kind of struck me. That one's interesting. Can anyone identify that guy? He looks familiar to me, and I can't figure out. Yeah, it's not Hughes, is it? No, Howard Hughes had more delicate features or something, right? I don't know. We're going to keep it moving. Keep it moving. This is an interesting picture. Big old blimp. Everybody's come out to check out the blimp. It's a wonderful picture. See the kid like sitting on the thing, and people are squinting, craning their neck, trying to see this thing. All right. Well, this is definitely not one of my best episodes, which means that a lot of people will see it. It'll become one of the more popular ones, and it's terrible. Well, I'm not going to stop it, though. I never edit. It is what it is. This is the Banquet of the Mutilated Faces. So this is a dinner party for returning French soldiers who had been maimed in the First World War. So it was a very fancy dinner that was given to them, thrown by, I don't remember if it was, I think it was independent, like rich people. I don't think it was the government, but they got to be in the company of other men who understood. And they probably had an evening where they didn't feel judged or as much out of place. We can do a lot of things now that we couldn't do then with 3D printing and making things look like flesh, right? Plastics or whatever they use in making noses. Like they can make it look like a real nose. And there are people in the world that have detachable noses. Like there's no nose there. And then they put this prosthetic on, and it's made in such a way that you almost can't even tell, which is remarkable. There's a lot more pictures, and they just get weirder and weirder and weirder. Oh, that was the end. So I scrolled all the way down. Well, let's see what this is. This is a guy at a seance during the moment of levitation. So this is him levitating during a seance. I'm thinking he's not levitating. I'm thinking he's probably jumping, right? I think he's jumping, taking a leap up in the air. I found this awesome little catalog that I had saved back before COVID. And one of the reasons why I saved it is because it's an auction catalog. And it's from the Society of... It's from the Society of something. And here we have a ceremonial arch. Woohoo! But sometimes in these auction catalogs, you can see things that never never make it out, never filter out to the public. Somebody with, a decent amount of money will buy this, put it in their collection, generally, and that's it. The architectural stuff is really appealing to me, like this thing right here, this contraption, which is a... I don't know. Let's look. I feel like I need to know that. What that means. Translate. Shit, it didn't translate. Okay, I'm going to have to do some research on that and save that and figure out. I'm going to have to figure that out. So let me take that off. Let me stick it there. We'll come back to it. So we'll come back to this. Something to look forward to. Look at that. Neat stuff. Very, very, very neat stuff. This kind of stuff thrills my cold little heart. I go, ooh, that's so cool. So I'll look into that. This is a YouTube thing.
It begins with nihilism, the philosophy that life has no meaning and the world is here for no reason.
This is how to party at the end of meeting, and it's about a 12-minute video about what do you do when there's no meaning, when nothing means anything, and everything is absurd. How do you find meaning in that? And the reality is that there is meaning in that, and that there can be a certain freedom in just recognizing that the world is absurd, and that you have very little control over any of it, and that it's about absurdism, but really ultimately in my mind it's about acceptance that we have very little control over the world and what happens in it, and that none of us really know what the hell's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this song Virtue by Overwork, one of my favorites. And we're going to look at some early Latin American photography. Last week we looked at Martin Chamby, the South American photographer. He was someone who he probably photographed some that place in Bolivia, now that I think about it, because that would have been the kind of thing he would have done. I'll have to check that out too. Man, all kinds of things I got to check out. Anyway, I was inspired by him, and I delved a little bit more deeply into the world of Latin American photography. This is known as the sun disk. It's very famous. Or the sunstone, I should say. It's in the Ludwig Museum. This guy's music is amazing. I'll put his stuff in the link so you can check it out. This is Max Vargas. Max Vargas is one of the most recognized and celebrated South American photographers out there, and he just took some breathtaking pictures like this, like just the clarity of it, And taking a picture back then wasn't just like taking a picture. You had to understand about the chemicals. You had to know how to develop the film. You had to know, how long everything took. Like, look at this picture. This is, I'm not sure where that is. I would have to look it up. I'm going to go with Peru. Catedral Arequipa. So this is from a book that's in a museum in Berlin. Just amazing, amazing. There's one here, though, that kind of like took my breath away. Here we have the famous stones. If you notice the precision at which they sit together. The street in Bolivia. This is how you dressed back in the day. If you wanted to be fashionable in Bolivia, that was how they dressed. Here we have, this looks like part of it. It's part of a much older structure that's been incorporated into a newer structure. That was taken in 1925. I'm not sure how he achieved that blue effect. Maybe it was an accident, but it's pretty wild. This is Arequipa. Arequipa. There's this one picture, though, I wanted to show you guys that just knocked my socks off. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. More Bolivia. So Max Vargas was like Martin Shamby in that he photographed very rich people. He had a very fancy kind of studio, and they would come in and they would fuss over them and make them feel super important and take pictures of them that were beautiful and flattering. And he would use that money to go on trips and to travel and to take pictures of these extraordinary places and people and document a world that had not really been seen before. Here we go. These are the pictures I was talking about. This is Cusco, Peru. And this is the picture. Look at that, man, huh? It fits well with the music, too. And we're almost to the end. Here's some of the rich people that he took pictures of. This would have been a wealthy socialite. And here he is with some other celebrated photographers of the time. And that is really it. So, we have come to the end, my friends, of this rambly, probably not very interesting. I think I say that every week, but I do it, and then I'm like, this isn't interesting. But you know what? Fuck it. It is interesting. It's interesting because I say it is, because you say it is, because 423 people have subscribed to my channel. You better watch your tone when you talk to me. I'm practically famous. All right, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful week.